Hello everyone, the Army of Otters here, and welcome back to the Unexplored Mojave. Today we're going to be checking out the think tank, which is the central location within the Big MT. Now, of course, anybody that plays Old World Blues will come to this location because this is where you start the DLC. It is unavoidable. Still, there's a lot of interesting things about the think tank and some interesting loot inside. Now, in this video, we will be kind of finishing up Old World Blues, or at least the portion of the quest that allows you to be more free in your exploration. We're going to be turning in all of the items from our explorations across the Big MT to Dr. Klein in order to initiate our final battle against Dr. Mobius. So, without further ado, let's check out the think tank. Obviously, I don't think people really need it, but here's the location of the think tank and the sink. Of course, the sink is kind of the player home within the think tank. Now, right on the entrance of the think tank, we can actually climb up this little ramp here, and up above the entrance, we have some foot lockers and some metal crates and stuff. Now, according to the wiki, you can actually jump on this next platform. However, I was unable to figure it out. I kind of tried it for about a minute or so, but eventually I gave up and decided just to utilize reload dashing. Down below, on the top of the entrance, there is really nothing in the way of loot besides junk inside of those crates. Here we are performing the reload dash glitch in order to get on top of the think tank. Now, there really isn't a whole lot up here, except on the side opposite of the entrance. There is something of note. There is a dead follower of the apocalypse, specifically a follower's doctor, and on his body we can find a doctor's bag and some stim packs, so not half bad at all. Then behind the think tank, we have these kinds of 3 barracks buildings, but they are inaccessible to the player. So I don't know if you'd have to approach from like underground inside of the think tank or something to get in them, but there are foot lockers on the outside that have bottle caps, but really not a whole lot, but worth checking out. Also, there's these random metal boxes just kind of scattered across the Big MT and of course near the think tank, but usually they just have junk, sometimes maybe bottle caps or something like that. Now, of course, if you're into crafting, that junk might be useful. Also worth noting that these satellite dishes actually do rotate and move around, just kind of a cool touch by Obsidian. Now, inside of the sink, we can find several of our favorite companions now that we completed the quest. All of my friends have off switches. Here's one of my favorite companions, Muggy, and you can give him coffee mugs, obviously, or other dishes, and he will convert it to some useful junk or tools that you can use in crafting, such as wonder glue and empty syringes. Now, of course, we have a variety of personalities within the sink, some more useful than others. One of the most useful is the Sink Central Intelligence Unit. Now, before finishing the Old World Blues quest, you want to make sure you've discovered at least 25 locations in order to achieve the quote-unquote good ending with the Central Intelligence Unit. If you discover less than 25 places, then he will not be satisfied with the player's exploration. On top of that, he has a vast inventory of all kinds of supplies and ammunition that replenishes every 3 days. Also, the Central Intelligence Unit has a repair of 100, which can come in handy when repairing some special weapons and stuff like that. Now, inside of the garden area, we have the Biological Research Station, which can plant seeds for us, which will grow every 72 hours. And also he can create salient green for us, which is a nice little consumable that is helpful, especially on hardcore difficulty. And then we have what I believe is my most favorite personality within the sink, the Toaster. The Toaster is so aggressive and he's kind of cute in a weird way, and he can help us out a lot. Of course, if we bring toasters to him, he will break down into useful components. And maybe most importantly, if we bring the Toaster a Saturnite Fist, he will upgrade it to a superheated Saturnite Fist, as you can see here, which is a very good melee weapon to have within the game. And then here we are giving the Toaster some toasters, kind of weird thing to say, but then the Toaster will break down the toasters into useful parts, such as microfusion cells and energy cells, which of course you can never not have enough of. And another very important personality that I think is actually really funny is the Book Chute, our favorite anti-communist book chute that, well, there's not many anti-communist book chutes, I guess, but anyways, if we deliver pre-war books to the Book Chute, he will erase everything inside and give us blank books. Of course, this is very useful for producing skill books in order to start maxing out a lot of your skills. Of course, we can find recipes for skill books throughout the Big MT. And finally, we have the sink auto dock, which has various implants and can always fix us up and heal us, which is, of course, very useful, and best of all, it is free. Well, the implants aren't free, but everything else is. Now, I'm not going to cover all of the personalities just because I've covered all of them already in previous episodes, but the ones that I highlighted here are my favorites and the ones that I utilize the most. Now, of course, the highlight of the sink is we can use this elevator over here in order to reach the very top floor. This is where you first appear in the DLC, and you get a very immaculate and beautiful view of Big Mountain. You can see all around, you have the Hexacrate over there, and you can see the Forbidden Zone over there. Something I never knew until, a few days ago was that you can actually disable the little barrier around here with the sonic emitter, upgraded sonic emitter. However, you can still not leave because there's an invisible wall preventing you from jumping off. Next, we'll head into the actual think tank. Here we have all of the brains of the Big MT, the scientist, conducting their kind of twisted and interesting experiments. And on the west side of the room, we have this table which has Dr. Klein's glasses, along with a chemistry set that allows us to create some stim packs or some other chems. Now, if we head up to the east side and go up to this door up here, that's an average lock, we can open it very easily, very lucky there. And then on the floor over here, we can find Dr. Mobius's glasses, which are worth even more caps. Also, there's a lot of mentats in here. Of course, Dr. Mobius loves mentats. Now, something I highly recommend when completing Old World Blues is to make sure you befriend all of the doctors not named Dr. Klein, or at the very least helping 3 of them in order to help you in the vote against Dr. Klein, because you need a majority, 5 doctors, 3 votes. This is the only way to achieve the good ending within Old World Blues, or at least the peaceful ending. Otherwise, you're going to have to kill all the doctors, which is, I guess not terrible, but also not preferable. Of course, the biggest hang-up with this is going to require a lot of level checks with your players, such as really high science, really high medicine, really high repair, or something like that. So I would highly recommend not attempting Old World Blues until you're a much higher level. I decided to complete this DLC last, and I actually think that was the correct decision, even if that's not the intended way the developers made the game. Another hang-up is you're going to have these really, really awkward encounters, like here with Dr. Dalla, but hey, you know what, we'll live with it, even though, yeah, she's really, really weird. But since I've helped out all of the doctors not named Dr. Klein, I am ready to end this story, or at the very least, enter the final phase of the story. So we will report to Dr. Klein that we actually retrieved all of the items that he asked of us, and he will be very shocked that we completed this task without, being killed or being mutilated, or God only knows what could happen to us in Old World Blues or the Big MT. But we will give him all the items, and then through a speech check, we can pretty much realize that these items could be used to give us back our brain, spine, and heart. But Dr. Klein says, hey, that's kind of ridiculous. These items are meant for an attack on Dr. Mobius. So with that, we have no other choice but to begin our attack on Dr. Mobius, and now we can make our way to the Forbidden Zone and unlock the door that'll take us inside of that dome. Of course, that is a story for another day. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Unexplored Mojave. It feels like that we have been in the Big MT for a long time now, and it has been a long time, and our journey here, kind of sadly, is finally coming to a close. There's just one more episode left, and that will be the Forbidden Zone. If you guys have any recommendations or ideas for future videos or future locations, please post them in the comment section below. I wanted to say thank you guys so much for just always watching, always liking, and always leaving comments. It has been so much fun making all of these videos, and it has been an incredible journey that I hope lasts a lot longer. As always, guys, until next time, when we attack the Forbidden Zone.